Hello, my name is Michael Nicewander, and today I'm going to be giving you a presentation about the evolution of Batman, why Batman is important, and how Batman has changed over so many successful years of being one of the most popular comic book superheroes in the world. Before we get into the history of Batman and how he's changed throughout his comic book history, let's talk about why Batman as a superhero is important in the first place. Batman is important as a superhero because he inspired the youth, being one of the only superheroes without an actual superpower and just having his abilities of hard work, grit, and dedication to his craft. This proved to the youth that they could do whatever they wanted in life, and it inspired a whole generation of kids to be great in their lives. Also, we have him inspiring pop culture with books, plays, movies, and TV shows, all based around this comic book of Batman. Batman has become a pop culture icon, has inspired mass culture for many, many years. The origins of Batman can be found in the 1930s when Bob Kane designed the Batman in an attempt to recreate the success they saw with the Superman comic book series. The first Batman story was The Case of the Chemical Syndicate, in which Batman was introduced as a bored socialite with a knack for destroying his victims and getting satisfaction from it. Batman's tragic origin story was revealed just 6 months later, as it was revealed that Bruce Wayne was orphaned by a mugger who violently murdered both of his parents outside of a movie theater. This Batman story saw wild success, and Batman's first installment by the artist Bob Kane set a massive precedent for what would be one of the most popular superheroes in all of history. The 1960s saw a new wave of Batman drawing. Batman was displayed in camp, and in 1964, after decades of success, the Batman comic series began to sink in sales. This was catastrophic for Detective Comics as a whole, and Batman as a comic book was in danger of being canceled in its entirety. Adam West's Batman TV series in 1966 was a huge success, and it revived a new set of Batman fans and created a whole new fan base for Batman and revived the series as a whole. In this, Batman was displayed in camp, which is playful and not really serious, and Batman had a whole new style to him. The Batman TV series was canceled in 1968, and something had to be done about this. They had to revive the Batman comic book series again because they got so much success from Adam West's version in 1966. In this, they decided to bring Batman back to the basic in an attempt to revive the comic book series. In the 1980s, we saw the return of The Dark Knight. In the 4-part series released in 1986, created by Frank Miller, Batman returned as older, tougher, and darker, more true to his original form. Batman came out of retirement in this series and attempted to reclaim Gotham from the crime thug lords who had overtaken it in his absence. The revival of the true Dark Knight in his intended form revived all of the Batman fan base because it was very refreshing after the campy, more playful tone of Adam West's Batman show a couple of decades prior. People were tired of this friendly version. They wanted the real Batman to come back in his dark and in his form in which he destroyed thugs and gained satisfaction from it at the same time. With this return of the Dark Knight series by Frank Miller, the sales of Batman were revitalized, and we saw an increase in comic book sales once again, and the Batman series was back in good standing. Frank Miller wasn't done yet. In 1988, he released Batman The Killing Joke, which went down as one of the most successful Batman comics of all time. In this story, the infamous Joker character was introduced, and he would become a villain who spiked so much interest in the Batman series that it sparked something known as Batmania, which was accentuated by the Tim Burton Batman movie in 1989. In this way, Batmania was in full force, and Batman was at the peak of its game in the late 1980s. Now let's have a look at modern Batman. With the release of Christopher Nolan's Batman Dark Knight trilogy, it consisted of Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Returns. The Dark Knight movie itself became one of the highest grossing movies of all time, and Batmania was in full force even decades after the 1980s. In 2014, due to Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo revitalizing Batman in Zero Year, Batman's origin story was replayed in a way it never had been done before. And it had been 25 years since the last time Batman's origin story was redone. This was huge for the Batman comic book series. So you remember the 1939 original comic book release of Batman by Bob Kane? Yeah, the one I talked about earlier. It sold for $1.07 million in 2012. And if that doesn't show you how influential the Batman comic book series has been, I really don't think anything will. I mean, Batman has gone through phases of being playful, dark, playful again, then dark again. And all these phases allow Batman to be the character that we all know and love to this day, and also be one of the most influential superheroes we've ever had in all of our history. Thank you for your time and attention.